Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 25th of October, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies again. Dollar, remember these are my long-term, medium-term, and short-term charts. This is a weekly, daily, and 60-minute chart. A 1% point and figure chart, a 0.5% point and figure log scale chart, and this is a 0.1% point and figure log scale on the hourly chart. This gives us a multiple time frame view of all the things that we're going to look at. And of course, you could do this for any set of instruments you want. So first of all, the dollar, very bullish looking pattern in the long term, run up here, sideways move, getting ready for another one of these run ups by the looks of things. Daily chart now has really appreciated quite strongly in the last several days, couple of weeks, and we see here the 60-minute chart is in a bit of a consolidation phase before looking like it'll break out and run again. 103.74 is the target, 5% upside, and we're seeing these medium-term targets back above 100 for the dollar index, and then the long-term targets are stellar. So 2017 looks like it will be the year of the dollar. We look at the euro, we see here weakness on the weekly, on the daily. That fall is reflected in the falling euro versus the dollar strength, and then we see the 60-minute chart just testing the bottom here. Interestingly, we broke this level here that we saw back in June. That's on the 60-minute chart. We've broken that downside target to parity 101. So, and then all of these downside targets here, and as we move lower, any of these upside targets will start to come off the chart. So quite bearish, and then some big downside targets. If we fall to new lows on the euro below 105, 104, then we will see the big downside target gets activated. If you want to look at what's going on in the really short term, like today, take a look at the 1 minute chart. Just press the T key on your system and you'll get the trends and targets. And we've got downside targets of 108, 106, and we can go smaller still, 107.60. So it's just all downside targets, very little upside thrust. So keep an eye on that 1 minute chart if you're trading forex. If we look at the yen, yen is showing here the dollar strength. Still, the yen this chart is inverted. The way to think about this is the dollar buys more yens as we go up here. So the dollar is was weak against the yen for most of this year, now turning through on the daily chart and through on the 60-minute chart, and quite a lot of upside targets here, 5-6% upside targets, finding support on this chart as well. So bearish still long term, but the transition is occurring here. Medium term turning bullish, short term is bullish. If we look at sterling, of course, sterling has been the big story. Bearish on the weeklies. It's just, sterling has just got so much to do to become a bullish looking chart again. Here we see the daily chart. We've got downside targets to parity even on sterling here, and here we see the 60-minute chart below the cloud. We're in a bit of a chop phase here, and if we look at the 1 minute chart again, we'll see that actually that choppy phase is really showing through. So we've come into this real sort of mega chop on sterling. Which way will we go? Hit the T key. That resolves all of the trends and targets on the point and figure, and we see here that we just in this choppy phase. Just reduce the box size in this bottom left-hand corner, right-hand corner here. We see we've got targets in either direction, so we just need to wait for the next move on sterling. You can go even smaller still, and you can see here then we've got a little bit of a sell-off that we saw yesterday. That's giving us 121.64. We've got a few upside targets here. We just have to wait for the next big move. So just keep an eye on that 1 minute chart for what happens next. If we look at some of the other rates, euro, sterling, sterling had a bit of the upper hand against the euro. Euro is actually looking pretty bearish now, catching up with sterling. So euro is just looking a bit more bearish, but it's all about dollar strength really. If we look at the sterling Swiss, that's recovered a little bit as well. And if we look at the Aussie sterling, we see here a little bit of recovery out of those 150s, but and a little bit of an upside target back to 164. Taking a look at stock markets, S&P 500 back above 2150. This 2150 level is really quite critical, and we're back above that. So we're bullish on all time frames, back into bullish territory here on the 60-minute chart. And 2196 is the upside target at the moment. There would be a new target here of 2590 if we could break that 2199 level. So let's say if we break above sort of 2200, that's the real resistance level. 2190 is really what we've got to break to see this market run again. And again, if we look at the 1 minute chart, that will give us a little bit of a heads up on the short term. Just press the T key on your chart, any Updata chart on your system, and here we see 2179, 2200. That is the place we want to be. But nothing beyond that at the moment. We're going to need another thrust to give us that target. So we see here the trend is now up. We've just got to break above this sort of 2155 level. That would activate the thrust that we saw yesterday. So we just need the market to just run a bit more. If we look at the Nasdaq, we see here we're through on the 60-minute chart. And if we look at the Dow, much the same thing. If we take a look at the futures are up very slightly in London this morning, so maybe we'll just see a bit of a market open, but very bullish looking charts in the short term now. Taking a look at the FTSE. FTSE this morning back above that 7,000 level, really dancing with the 7,000 level, closed below it last night, back above it this morning, and so here we just see how we're just bullish above the cloud, and we do have upside targets of 3% away, so that's what we're looking to play for at the moment. Take a look at the DAX. DAX again, short-term upside targets, very bullish here, and most of all turning bullish on the long term. So that's quite interesting. Most Asian markets still bearish in the short term, but we are seeing these recoveries now going on. And Tokyo was up again last night. China not up substantially, but in bullish mode in the short term, still pretty bearish in the long term. And if you look at Hang Seng, Hang Seng just coming into bullish territory on the price, but it's the lagging line that's got to do the work, but just turning bullish in the short term. So markets generally looking better. The BSE, Sensex index, the Indian stock market, also looking pretty bullish now on all time frames. And the Australian market just struggling to get above on the short-term chart, but it is looking like making a transition long-term as well, after a couple of bad years really for the market. So we are seeing that coming through. Oil, crude struggling to get above the 52.50 level again. We're just slightly bearish here. We do have a new upside target. Again, if we took a look at the 1 minute chart, we could probably see some information that we just can't see on the longer term charts. Now the 1 minute chart, remember, is very bearish. And we do have this upside target, 53.55, but we're just struggling to activate that this morning. We need a move above 51.65. So if you're looking at the today trading intraday, you need those 1 minute charts. Here we see the WTI. And again, it's bearish here in the short term, but we do have upside targets that are activated. So crude is just starting to look a little bit better. Nat gas below the $3 level, so it has just struggled the last few days, end of last week, just hitting resistance on the lagging line on that cloud. So not through yet, but looking like it will make a bullish transition in the long run after a few bad years for nat gas. And then on the daily chart, we are just finding support on the cloud with the price. We do have these upside targets for nat gas, so this is looking like a pullback. Wait for the next one, wait for this chart to turn bullish, and look for short-term upside targets. And again, if you're trading nat gas, look at the 1 minute charts. Most of the softs looking, have been in the doldrums. Coffee looking a bit better, just coming through on the long-term chart. So we are seeing a transition going on here, bullish on the other time horizons, and we do have sort of anywhere between 2 and 3% upside. If we look at sugar, we're seeing much the same thing here, just turning bullish as well. So that's quite key. Look at gold. Gold is just starting to put that recovery in. We've had a little bit of volatility in gold. We've got these prices of 12.85, 12.96, about 1 and 2% upside. We just are recovering here on the short term. We've just turned a bit bearish on the medium term below the cloud here, but the long term targets are still there for gold, so gold looks good in the long term. Silver tends to lead gold a little bit, so it's a good one to watch. And again, much the same picture though, but 6-7% upside potential that is activated, so that's quite good. Copper has just leapt out of that short-term bearish trend. You remember yesterday it was bearish on all time frames. Copper's been one of those ones that's bearish, 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 but it has actually just run a little bit off the bottom here, but it's not changed the medium or long-term pictures that are truly bearish. So just keep an eye out. If you're going to trade copper, you need to be quick because these trends are against you. Just the short-term trend has just changed there. Taking a look at the government bonds, US 10-year. We're above on the 60-minute chart, so we are bullish. We have activated this 186 target, and we do have upside targets above 213, 217, and we are bullish in the medium term. Not yet in the long term, but we are just looking more bullish there. Last of all, I'll look at a few NASDAQ bellwether stocks, and we see if we look at Apple here, we are bullish on the weekly again, quite clearly, bullish on the daily, and bullish on the 60 minutes. So this is looking better. And if we look at Google, much the same thing. Here we are. We're bullish on the weekly, bullish on the daily, bullish on the 60-minute. And then Amazon has been really streaming away here and now just turning bullish again on that short-term chart. So that was just a pullback by the looks of things. And Facebook making new highs last night, and we see that here, long-term bullish and upside targets here. But really the key thing is these medium-term targets into the 150s, 160s, lots of targets, quite a bullish picture. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.